Hello everybody, welcome back to the new video on the channel today. So now this famous World War II era bomber, this is one of my personal favorites. This is the B-17 Flying Fortress, the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress. This aircraft was one of the most popular bombers ever made before World War II. Made its first flight in 1935. It was very famous during the daylight bombing raids in the heart of Germany. But unfortunately, but in the beginning parts of the bombing, they had to be escorted by themselves, no fighter escorts, because at that time we didn't have a plane until the P-51 Mustang that were able to escort bombers deep into Germany. So unfortunately, we suffered a lot of heavy losses, losing almost 60 bombers during one mission. They used to call it Black Thursday, if I'm not really mistaken. Let me know in the comments. But it's one of the best bombers of the entire world. And I finally, after I've waited all these years of my life, I finally, this past June, got to see a B-17 finally at the World War II Weekend Air Show. That particular one is Sentimental Journey. It's a beautiful, silvery looking B-17. There are actually two of my favorite stories that were based about these B-17s. I'll start from, this was in February 1943 during one of the daylight bombing raids in the heart of Germany, when there was hold on, let me check it out. See, well, because it was on February 1943 when there was this one B-17 that during one mission, the whole entire vertical one part of the tail and almost the whole vertical stabilizer almost was sheared off because it suffered at the hands of the collision of a Bf-109 on that one particular mission, which that's real, and it managed to make it back to base somehow, despite that the whole vertical tail was almost about to come out. And it's called All-American B-17. It's called the full name All-American 3. So this particular mission was on February 1st, 1943, when the bombers of the 414th Bombardment Squadron departed their base in Biskra near Algeria to attack the German controlled seaports near Sunsia. After dropping their bomb loads, which was successful, and they were turning back to base, they were swarmed by German fighters, by Bf-109s. And the All-American B-17 was the one that took the damage, which it struck the left tail, and almost the whole vertical stabilizer, the whole fuselage almost sheared off. But it managed to make it back to base somehow, which that's incredible. I don't even know how, but that's amazing. I know the Memphis Belle was also one of the most popular B-17 aircrafts as well. The Memphis Belle. But this is one of my #1 favorite stories about the B-17. This was on June 16, 1943, that a pilot who himself was a Pennsylvania native, his name was J. Zemer Jr., whom he flew the pilot. He was a pilot of the B-17 at that time. They were this was actually all the way in the Pacific Theater, and their mission in the B-17E gunship had 18 guns in the aircraft, which was more standard than a B-17, became the most heavily armed bomber in the Pacific. So on that day, their mission was to do a mapping mission over the Bougainville and the Solomon Islands and to over the Buka Island as well, which is also in the Solomon chain. And while they were doing the mapping mission, they were attacked by Japanese A6M0 fighters. And this was gonna, and they managed to shoot a few down. While one of the crew members, who was also a Pennsylvania native, his name was Joseph Sarnoski, he was technically shot. He was shot so badly to the point that it was going to be close to his death. He was able to shoot the last aircraft before he succumbed to his wounds in the air and died. So the crew continued to battling the Zeros, and after the Zeros were fuel exhausted, they headed back to their base, and they were able to head back to Dura in New Guinea. Where as soon as they landed, they had greeted by medics, which they found Joseph Sarnoski was completely dead. He died during the battle, but they also thought that Jay Zemer was also died as well. But what happened was he survived because he lost so much blood because he was shot in the knee. He struggled to stay conscious, but he amazingly survived. So for that heroic action, he was awarded the Medal of Honor. And Joseph Sarnoski was awarded the Medal of Honor as well, but posthumously. And the other 7 men of the crew received the Distinguished Service Cross, the most highly decorated mission by an American aircrew in the Second World War. The last surviving member and this was called the Old 666 B-17. The last surviving member of that Old 666 B-17 was named John T. Britton. He died at the age of 93, I think, in 2011 or 2010. That's my number one favorite thing about the B-17. But anyway, thank you guys so much for the video, and stay tuned.